So I'm going to be coming into this video with a steaming hot take that is going to have everybody watching turn into human candles. Sonic Lost World is a mid-game. Now, settle down everyone, I understand this may come as a bit of a shock to you. You're probably all questioning my sanity, confused at my opinion, and overall just blown away by the sheer nothingness of that take. Yeah, so for anyone who is familiar with Sonic at all, you probably know about the interesting online discourse surrounding this 2013 entry into the 3D Sonic franchise. Lost World was part of a 3-game deal Sega had with Nintendo at the time, and they unfortunately made that deal for Nintendo's worst performing home console of all time. So, nice one. They released Sonic Lost World in 2013, Mario and Sonic at the Sochi 2014 Olympic Games in 2014 obviously, and the masterpiece of a game known as Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. Yeah, so this wasn't a great time for both companies. Despite the overall negative reception to this deal, Sonic Lost World remained an extremely divisive game in the franchise. Some saw it as a great reimagining of the Sonic formula that introduced a ton of new and improved features to Sonic's gameplay. Others just saw it as a boring, poorly designed heap of a game that does not warrant the £40 price tag. Are you serious? And judging by the title of this video, you can probably see which side I'm on. So with all that being said, let's delve into why Sonic Lost World is so bad that it's kind of good. We can't talk about Lost World without going into its downright pathetic story. As a Sonic fan who has not played all the games but knows a fair bit about them, I can safely say that Lost World is a game that just doesn't hold up to the likes of Generations, Unleashed, and yes, even Sonic Forces. Look, don't shoot me, I know Sonic Forces is painfully average, but the idea of taking back the world from Eggman after Sonic was presumed dead is kind of a sick idea. Plus the marketing for it was amazing. And comparing it to Lost World is like comparing a Picasso piece to a drawing done by a literal fetus. Whilst fighting Eggman in a beautifully animated opening sequence that should be done for every fucking cutscene, Sonic and Tails discover the Lost Hex. And that's all you find out about it, like literally that is it. No origin story, no lore dump, no nothing. Just bam, Lost Hex bitch. Sonic discovers a group of villains called the Deadly Six who are under Eggman's control with his big radiating acorn until Sonic does what he does best and acts like a cog. So now him and Eggman must team up to take down the Zeti, otherwise known as the Deadly Six. Where have I heard this story before? I have absolutely no idea. And these villains honestly just really confuse me in this game. You have Zavok who acts as a leader and in my opinion has a simple yet pretty sleek design, and he has a serious attitude that you would want out of a villain. But then you have all these fuckers that are just meaningless. Throughout the game you fight one of them twice in every world, and it doesn't make sense to me why you fight this guy before this guy. Like, what the fuck did he do to deserve that? You've got Zaz, who's basically just a punk guy without his acid tab, Zommom, who looks like I did as a kid, Master Shifu, Xena, aka generic woman who's overly sexualized for a kid's game, Zor, who's described as the most depressed of the Deadly Six. And you have Zavok, the only one of the lot that actually matters. But they're all just shit. You'd think for how much they want to appear as a threat, they actually would be one. But no, you can kill all of them in like 2 hits. I know something else that only took 2 hits to take down. The story involving these freaks just doesn't make any sense to me if I'm being honest. Like, we don't get an explanation why Tails is still Tails after being turned into a robot other than just magically knowing that he reprogrammed something to do something else. Knuckles and Amy are in this game for literally no reason besides trying to make the player feel emotional because oh no, they're sucking their life out of the world, what are they going to do? And nothing feels like it's got any high stakes because the whole plot is structured like a cartoon show rather than a real story. The only, and I truly mean the only good part about this game's narrative is when Eggman gets so angry that he breaks down this ice block with his bare hands. This is cool. This is character progression. This is a job well done. Not this. But despite how much I just ripped into this game's narrative, Sonic Lost World actually has, in my opinion, some really good visuals. They're not great, they're in fact a massive downgrade from Sonic Generations, which still feels like a brand new game to this day, but I can't fault Sonic Team for that considering they were working with a Wii U this time around. I know some people really feel that this game dumbed down Sonic in many ways, and I'm not going to sit and act like I don't agree with that. Enemies are the least threatening looking things ever and look like robotified plushies, and this game certainly does feel very cartoony which doesn't blend well with its story that tried way too much to make you care about it. But overall, I'm actually a really big fan of this game's art style. The grass textures are vibrant and feel like a perfect match for Sonic's speed. The stop motion animation on the plant life is unique and adds an extra layer of depth into the game's minimalist aesthetic, and above all else, I think the overabundance of shapes scattered around the world makes for a captivating look that adds much more personality to the game's world than I think most people will give it credit for. That being said though, these cutscenes look fucking atrocious. Whilst there certainly isn't anything close to the realistic vistas seen in Unleashed and Generations, I don't think Lost World's art style is something to be angry about, and I can appreciate its consistency for what it's worth. And another thing I can appreciate it for is the goddamn music, because goddamn is this goddamn soundtrack goddamn good. Wonderworld is a triumphant orchestral bop that masterfully evokes the feeling of adventure and discovery. I even get goosebumps listening to it. Not because it holds any emotional weight for me, but because it just creates that sense of hope and exploration perfectly. You've also got bangers like Windy Hill Zone 1, a high octane introduction song that again evokes that feeling of wonder when stepping into this new world. You've got low-key hits like Careening Cavern and Snowball Waltz that could easily go on a chill playlist any day of the week. And you've even got my personal favourite, Color Power Yellow Drill. Wallabanger. I think it goes without saying that Sonic games are just the kings of soundtracks. Like, I don't think there's a single Sonic game that doesn't have a couple tunes on its OST, so thankfully that returns in this game. But look, I may be praising these games' visuals and music, but gameplay, I really don't know where to start. The developers of Lost World decided it would be an amazing idea to completely ditch the boost formula that I hold near and dear to my heart, and instead chose to make this one of the slowest 3D Sonic games ever created. Like, it is painfully slow. For someone named after the production of sound waves, aka something nearly as fast as fucking light, you'd expect him to live up to that name, but they should retitle this game to Slow Lost World. I'm trying, alright. In this game, Sonic has a dedicated run button that's used to gain speed and traverse the environments as fast as possible. But even when he runs, it's just so fucking slow. And it doesn't help that whenever he turns, his momentum grinds to a halt. It's less of a run and more of a light jog for him. And the issue with this momentum-based physics system is that precise platforming becomes almost impossible without an extreme level of knowledge. Lost World was also the first game to bring parkour into the series, and subsequently the last. The parkour is a really interesting addition that I actually don't hate as a concept for Sonic, but it's just so poorly executed in this game. Why can Sonic run faster along walls than he can on the fucking ground? Like, this literally makes no sense. The only redeeming movement mechanic in this game is the spin dash, which plays excellently and basically is used in the entire game because it's not only more fun, but also way better designed for the levels. At no point in the game are you told about these abilities, by the way. You're sort of just expected to know what you're doing, and this is probably because none of the levels in the game ever require you to use its movement to the fullest, besides the last world, because of course it does. Wisps are also a returning feature to the game following the success of Sonic Colors, but even they're meaningless here. None of them are fun to play, besides the drill, but that's only because you're forced to use it in the second world, but some are simply unnecessary. I didn't even get to see this eagle one when I played it recently until I went back and replayed some of the levels. They were clearly just added as a way to get players that appreciated them back in Colors back into the series without needing to do any extra work. The only positive thing I'll say about Sonic's movement is that in 3D stages like Desert Ruins Act 1 or Sky Road Act 1, he plays fantastically when holding down the spin dash, as you're able to just blast through the levels without a moment to think, which is exactly what Sonic gameplay should be. Sadly though, this game spends too much of its time in 2D, which just feels like an utter drag. And I haven't even mentioned just how painful the level design is in this game. Lost World is the perfect example of so bad it's good, because there wasn't a single level in the game where I didn't die to something outright hilarious. Certain enemy placements or platforming sections must have been designed by a 4-year-old, because it's criminal just how many times I died through the fault of the level design combined with Sonic's janky physics. I laughed many times throughout my playthrough, mainly from bullshit deaths rather than actual fun. I actually went ahead and spent about an hour downloading some mods for the game that improved several things about it, and it's just crazy how much potential this game could have had if the devs just made better design choices. The mod upped Sonic's speed, improved enemy placements, as well as generally fixing a lot of pacing issues the game suffers with, and it made a huge difference. Not saying the game's a 10 out of 10 now or anything, but it's certainly an improvement over the 4-hour adventure I had to sit through. There's other stuff I want to mention about this game, but to be completely honest, it would probably end up me repeating the same thing over and over again, so I'll spare you the rant. But I will go ahead and say that I spent an unfortunate amount of time figuring out how to mod the Wii U DLC stages into the PC version, only to realise both levels are like 2 minutes long. And speaking of the PC version, does someone want to explain this? What the fuck is this? Bet you'd never think a Sonic the Hedgehog game would have 100 real achievements for it, but this one does. And you may be thinking they're based on the story, or beating levels quick enough, or even extra bonus side content, but no, they're Omochow missions. 100 of them. Not only is this an absurd amount of missions, but they're also fucking shit. And you can't do them all at once. You have to speak to Omochow in the hub world, get given 3 missions at a time, and have to do them before getting more. But these missions are just completely pointless. Spin dash for 2 seconds, defeat 50 enemies, collect 50 rings with the orange rocket. Why? Why are these achievements you have to get? Only a handful of these are actually meaningful in some way. The rest are just tedium for the sake of it. I love 100% in games, it's sort of become my problem now. But this is just bullshit. I took the time to work out how many of these I've actually completed instead of the 16 it says I have. And in total, I should have fucking 80. Yet because the system for it is incompetent and makes no sense, I'm stuck with 16 because why not? I'm so glad Frontiers never did anything like this because I think I would have lost my mind if it did. And there's also just some random things about the PC port that make absolutely no sense. Why is my profile picture like 480p on the title screen? Why does some cutscenes look like they're not even in HD? And why the fuck does Eggman sound like he's speaking through a pillowcase the entire game?
Thanks to Sonic, everything's gone cattywampus. My cacophonic conch was the only thing keeping those 6 maniacs in check.
Sega, how can you continuously get your PC ports wrong time and time again? How do you have the energy, or lack of, to port Sonic Lost World and bundle it with 100 bullshit achievements, but you can't port Sonic Unleashed, which is a game I've wanted on PC now for like 10 years. I even played the Unleashed Project mod for Generations after this game, and it was better in every way. Not even because it's Unleashed levels with Generations physics, it just blows my mind that a group of dedicated fans of Sonic can spend years working on a mod that is deserving of its flowers, but then get less attention than a Lost World shitty PC port. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever ripped into a game on my channel as much as I have with this one, but oh my god, is this game just so painfully average. I really wanted to like Sonic Lost World, and I think it has many ideas that were poorly executed but eventually improved on in later releases. So with all that being said, plugging Sonic Lost World into the moist meter, I'm giving it a mediocre 45%. Stick to this, Sega, I'm begging you. And thank you Tesco Meal Deal as usual for the membership. Take care everyone, and peace. Oh, and this game is not beating the Super Mario Galaxy allegations either, fuck you.